And hello, everybody. Welcome to week 34 of the Crystal Crusaders in Storm King's Thunder. I am your DM, Brad, joined by most of my lovely players. Thor's not here right now because he probably doesn't have access to a computer at the moment. He may show up later, may not, I do not know. But for the time being, we are going to go ahead and begin with the players that I do have. Before we hop into things, if Morton, I guess, would like to give a little recap of what happened before the only thing that anyone else remembers, which is the big battle. But
Well, I remember. Then you helped me because I was working.
yes, of course.
Well, we started off with in ruins after a fight where we were There was a slumbering giant that mind controlled us, and we ended up fighting and killed him. Thus, we went back to bed, woke up the next morning, and we laid out on our travels. And along the way, what did we see? We obviously we found the magic tower, but on the what else? Did we really do anything specific on the way?
Not really. We obviously were guided by Lob. We saw the tower in the distance, the tower that looked like it had a wizard's hat on it. And rather than just keeping going, we decided to investigate because there was a quite unusual sight. And once we got up to it, we saw that there were a giant chained up on a rock or something, and two presumably stone giants guarding him, and a human standing there talking to him, presumably investigating him, but or interviewing him, whatever.
Interviewing.
Interrogating. That's the word. But the chained up giant, which we identified as a cloud giant, didn't seem to be responsive. He seemed to be out of it. After listening a little bit for what they were trying to get out of him, the human was identified as someone from Alcohol's past, who's I can't remember the name.
It's in the handouts. It's in the handouts.
What's his name? Ragnar Bearheart.
Yeah, that's the one.
Rengar.
And he was apparently involved in. He was then he was a minion in the Ice Witch's army, after the human Rengar sent away the other tribespeople that were close by, we engaged him in conversation. Alquil was they were going back and forth a bit, calling each other names, questioning why they were here, and Rengar mentioned something about being involved with the
Utgard tribe. Utgard tribe.
Yeah, but
Utgard Castle.
Yes, Castle. Yes, and at the end of it, he decided to. He was telling us to leave. He was about to leave. Alquil inquired as to whether the Cloud Giant could be released, which he said he didn't care. At which point, there were a master plan made by the two Mensa members, and we attacked, and a battle ensued, and we got our motherfucking asses handed to us. by stone giants who throws rocks and a fucking guy who turns into a man bear pig. And turns out we all got beaten the hell up except for Alexei and Lucas, who managed to get away. They brought our unconscious bodies into the tower with the wizard's hat, where we woke up to the cloud giant, whose name was Zephyros, and they had apparently just left us there. And this was Zephyros' tower. He explained to us that he had seen us in a vision. He was on some kind of quest to find us for whatever reason we haven't discovered yet. And we with his magic, he can do magic. So with his magic, he told Alexei and Lucas to come into the tower, and we are now gathered in the tower, hoping to figure out what Zephyros is talking about.
I did a very good.
Good recap.
Thank you.
Right. Yes, indeed. So we will pick things up back where we left off. You guys had basically just woken up from being knocked unconscious, and kind of left there by Rengar and the Stone Giants. So as you kind of all wake up a little bit groggily, you see this kind of like massive, kind of like pale white-skinned cloud giant wearing like big, billowy, kind of like purple wizard robes with stars and moon patterns sort of all over it, with this big sort of like wispy cloud beard and some like kind of like balding like back of the head hair, kind of blowing in the wind, even though there's no wind, and so he's standing there. He has his sort of like staff that he's like leaning on pretty heavily, and he says, "It is good that you are all here now." And he says, "It was unfortunate what happened, such a tragic battle, but at least you are all safe."
Yes, we had no idea what he actually was. If we had known, we may have been more cautious. That was quite the ass whooping, frankly.
He says, Zephyros sort of like nods and says, "Yes, the smaller one, he was much stronger than he seemed." And he says, "They had ambushed me in my tower here after a particularly failed casting of the spell I used to find this place."
Speaking of which, you mentioned you've had visions of us. Who's giving you these visions and why? Do you know?
And he says, "I have an idea. I have been, for some time, using my spells to contact agents of the Allfather. Sometimes my mind does not quite survive the experience, but it recovers in time. But these visions, I think they were sent to me. I've been seeking answers on how to fix the situation, as it were, and what has occurred. You must understand, the gods are not... They don't speak in simple sentences like you or I. They tend to be more esoteric."
Yeah, I can understand that. I've never actually had a conversation with them, so that doesn't really explain what did these visions appear as? How do you know? How do you interpret them?
And he says, "I have asked the Allfather how it is that the way of things might be restored, that these wars might be ended between my kin. He says, I did not see much, but I did see a group of small folk. And he says, their appearances were fuzzy, I must admit, but quite close to what you appear to be. And he says, I saw this group of small folk traveling amidst a giant, somewhere far to the north. And he says, and there was a temple. And he says, I felt the importance of it, though I must say I am not familiar with its location. He says, but I believe there in that temple is where the answers might be found.
All right.
I'm awake too, right?
Yeah, you're
everyone
all
is
here.
awake.
Yeah.
Well, this is all quite beyond me. I'll be honest.
Hey,
Sirak, shouldn't this be a little bit up your alley? You're a cleric, aren't you? Rather close to your deities.
yeah, I'm pretty close to my tier. Yeah, but visions and stuff, I haven't had much of those, no?
Well, now that you found us, then what were you planning on next?
He says, well, I hadn't really gotten that far. I've just been following what I've been told to do. He says, perhaps I could consult with the spirits again, but it might leave me in a rather sad state for some time. And he says, but I was curious what it was you were up to. Perhaps we could start with that.
Right. And that question I realized. Where's Lob?
We brought him with us. He's
Yeah.
looks like
Oh,
he's
you
right
did?
at the door.
Yeah, he's
Oh, right.
He's sort of like
Oh,
standing,
alright, you can see it on the fucking map.
standing kind of like dumbstruck in the door, just like.
Oh, okay.
God, you're retarded, Mike.
He's
thanks.
he seems to be kind of like keeping his distance from the cloud giant, kind of like cowering in the corner.
Alright. Well, Lob here is trying to guide us to where
the hideout of the hideout of all the hill giants.
Yes. We are basically on a mission to some way try to stop the encroaching threat from the giants upon the small folks, specifically to the to the citizens of Goldenfield currently.
Yeah, so he sort of like nods. He's like stroking his beard. He's like, "Oh, you poor things! You could scarce find a worse wilderness guide than a hill giant." He says,
Well, we couldn't really choose anything else at the time.
Yeah.
This was the only thing we had.
Being
And,
picky wasn't really an option.
and he says, I say it is far more likely he has led you miles away from where you are supposed to go than anywhere near it.
Well, you happened to mention that this tower we're in could fly.
And he says, it can, although when they attacked me, they did something to the orb. It will take time to repair. The tower cannot fly at the moment.
That's unfortunate. Will it be difficult to fix?
He says, not for me, but it will be time-consuming. I will need components that I do not have. I'll have to contact some of my associates.
Associates.
And he says, I have some friends amongst the small folk. He says, I have dealings with them from time to time. Good folk they are.
All right.
Said, they are the ones that told me what had happened, that had caused this uprising. Or so they believe.
Understandable.
What are these small folk called?
And he says, I believe that you call them the Harpers.
I'm one of those.
And he says, oh, are you? It is
Hey.
a pleasure to meet you then.
Likewise.
All right. Well, I'm a little bit at a loss now. Then, if you believe that our large friend here is guiding us poorly, I don't quite know how to. I don't know what the next step would be. We ourselves do not know where we're going. And unless you have some way of assisting us finding our quarry, then I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, so he says, well, my tower has been scouring these parts for some time, searching for this place. He says, I must admit I'd seen no sign of a hill giant steading anywhere nearby. Many stone giants prowl this vale. In fact, your companion seems to be leading you deeper into their territory. He says, but to the north, quite a ways, there was a strange sight. I saw a tower, old and decrepit, fallen to pieces. Inside, a lone hill giant, who seemed quite distraught.
Do you think you can recall the path there on foot?
He says, well, I could... Do you have a map, perhaps? I could mark the location.
Matter of fact, we do. I pull out my map.
Right, so you pull out the map, and he looks at it and says, a good map. And he says, yes, here, give it here. And he, like, gingerly kind of, like, takes it. And you see he, like, puts it on the table and, like, puts on some, like, magnifying glass, like, spectacles to look at this, like, tiny little map compared to him. And he says, now, where was it? He starts looking around, and he says, I believe it was somewhere around here. And he draws like a little X on the map, right about. Let's see here.
Fucking monkey.
Just on the other side of the mountains.
That doesn't seem to be too far. Might be a difficult trick, though. Climbing over the mountain or going around it. Repairing your orb, is that you need to travel for it to find your missing components?
And he says, I am sure that I will have to travel some ways. It's based on the state of it. I can't imagine it's going to take anything less than a month for me to finally get it up and running again.
That's quite a time. Especially since we're in a bit of a time crunch.
Hey.
But we should anyway investigate this this location you've given us. Will you be safe here if we leave you?
And he kind of like laughs and says, well, so long as I don't stupefy myself casting magic, I am more than capable of defending myself. It was
Very good.
an unfortunate circumstance that allowed those brigands to ambush me.
Very well. So, what do you say, fellas? How do we deal with this?
Well, this Lone Hill Giant is the only thing we really got to go on that's really close. If we're to believe that Lob isn't actually guiding us where we need to be.
I don't find that hard to believe at all.
Me neither.
I do believe that Lob is trying to make us get there, but I don't think he actually can.
Absolutely. I think he has the best of intentions, but intentions won't get you very far sometimes.
Especially with the Hill Giant.
Especially with a hill giant, yes. So, I suppose we, although we should very much rest first, I am
Can
Not
we get a
in-
long rest if we rest here?
in the tower.
Mm-hmm.
Is this civilization?
No. No, it has to be
Well,
like a settlement.
Well, I would do very well with a short rest at least.
Aye. Same.
Or, that's still a long rest, but we
Mhm.
don't get short one, I guess. Alright, Zephyros is... Can anyone just come in and out of your tower, or is it safe
And
to let down your guard?
he says, well, if you're concerned about strange folk wandering into this massive tower in the middle of the woods, I could perhaps ward the door. I normally don't care for such things. And he says, most people that would wander into here with ill intentions are not much of a match for me. And he says, you will be safe here, I can promise you that. And he says, and you can stay as long as you like.
Very good. We appreciate that. We would, although for now we would only need a to rest for a while. What time of day is it now?
If I remember correctly, it was probably about midday when you guys found the tower.
And how long were we knocked out for?
An hour, so
An hour.
early afternoon.
Well, it's an odd time to rest in such a way, but I don't feel quite myself right now, so...
And he says, yes, I am sure you wish you could get on to other things, but perhaps think of it as an opportunity. We could get to know each other. I'm fascinated to hear about your stories, where you've been, and I'm sure you've many questions for me. I know much about the giants and what has happened recently.
Of course. And your magic wouldn't happen to involve any healing, would it?
He kind of chuckles and says, unfortunately not. My magic dwells more in the domain of that one, and he sort of gestures to Alexei.
I see.
What?
So you're useless. I don't say that.
You mean you're good at
Um,
human magic?
It is brash to call it such a thing.
I look at her and go like, sweetheart, magic is magic. Anyway, as long as you have the intelligence for it, anyone can do magic.
I said, magic has existed long before humans, long before even the giants. It has always been. It always will be. At least, unless somebody kills the goddess of magic. Which, I mean, it happened once before. Rather unfortunate, but she's better now.
Oh yeah. Then Alexei has like a light bulb moment. Wait, you're a transmuter?
And he says, well, I consider myself somewhat of a universalist. When you get to my age and you've practiced magic as long as I have, you learn tricks from everywhere, really.
Have you got any rare spells you could share?
And he says, I have a few spell books. Perhaps I might be able to allow you to take a look, although I'm afraid most of my magic is probably beyond your capabilities at the moment.
You called Alexei dumb.
Shut up, Zach! And Alexei will be like, Alexei will be like, oh, well, anything you could offer would be very appreciated. I promise I won't be a bother.
And he says, very well, perhaps later tonight.
Yes!
I'd hate to bore your friends while we sit around reading tomes.
How could you
I'm,
guys find that boring?
I'm sure we can find a different way to amuse ourselves.
What the hell?
Gay orgy?
Place to sleep.
Tail Raiders using demon powder.
Either one of those would work fine, I guess.
Madman.
No, but alright, we start a rest then. Yeah.
Yeah, so he says, I have not much for furniture size for the smaller folk such as yourself, but feel free to spread out your camping supplies here within my foyer.
Cat.
Excellent, thank you. So I guess we set up a small camp inside his tower.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, Zephyros, tell us how did you come to do what you do? Have you always been destined to walk this path, or did you get contacted through your visions, just like that?
And he says, well, I must admit I am quite far from where I would normally call home. I've spent many, many centuries studying around the Moonshay Isles, categorizing the wonders, magical and mundane. And he says, I'm a researcher at heart, so in a sense I've always been on this path, but the visions took me far from home to this place.
Where's home?
He just said the Moonshay Isles, which he's like, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of them. They're quite a ways away, out in the Sea of Swords, off the coast.
I hope I'm not rude, but you said several centuries. How old are you?
And he says, well, you get to my age and you stop counting, really. And he says, at least 3, maybe 400 years.
Is that common for giants?
And he says, depends on the sort of giant. And he says, those that are more aggressive towards the small folk tend to have shorter lifespans.
How old are
Okay.
you, Lob?
Two.
And he starts like,
I was
he
just
starts,
about to say that.
he starts like kind of like counting on his fingers, and then like he gets to about like 3, and he's like, what? Lob don't know.
At least
That's
he's
okay,
honest.
Love. You go back to gnawing on your nails.
So he says,
Oh yeah, we got food to feed Lob here.
yeah, you took care of that this morning. Like he's got
Yeah.
enough in his bag for today.
Okay.
And so, yeah, Zephyros sort of says, yes, the cloud giants, such as myself, stone giants and storm giants that often keep to themselves and don't meddle in the affairs of small folk are typically much, much longer lived than marauding frost giants or hill giants.
I suppose that is true.
Wait,
Even though we are small, we
How long is like an average lifespan on any of them, considering like normal life if you die of old age?
And he says, well, even amongst the lowliest of giants, if they manage to avoid being killed by small folk, they can expect to live upwards of a few centuries.
Oh,
I
That's
didn't
quite
know
a bit,
this.
ain't it?
And he says,
Yeah.
although I must admit I have rarely met a hill giant that's managed to persist more than a couple of decades.
Aye. Have a tendency to do dumb things, don't they?
Lob's right here, guys.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Come
but
on, man.
he's too dumb to understand that you're talking about him.
All right. Well,
on the way here, what were those groups of giants that we saw fighting?
fire and frost.
We don't know why they were fighting, do we?
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Because we ran.
Yeah. I think Alexei will say it's like on the way here, we saw a group of fire and frost giants engaged in what appeared to be a battle. Do you happen to know why that may have been?
Yeah, so he sort of says, ever the classic rivals, those two. The frost giants have been jealous of the fire giants' place in the ordning. Now that it's gone, I think they seek to supplant them. They squabbled before, but they were never allowed to fight openly. But now, things are different.
I'm sorry, the what?
The what?
The ordning?
And he says, oh yes, of course. He says, the ordning, a divine decree by Anam the All-Father, that,
That's you, Brad.
and he says, it is a hierarchy of the giants. Much like in your governments, there are lower bureaucrats and higher ones all the way up to the ruling chief or king or elected leader. For us giants, it was more of a station of birth. The hill giants at the bottom, then the stone giants, the frost and fire giants, then the cloud giants, and all the way at the top, the storm giants and their king. And he says this was the way it was, the way it always was, until recently, when the All-Father broke this ordning.
Why did you do that?
And
And,
how did he break it?
And he sort of like shakes his head, says, none can say. I have my suspicions. And he says, there was recently a large conflict against our most ancient of enemies, the dragons, and their cult. And he says, the giants sat by and did nothing. I believe Onum perhaps was dissatisfied in our non-involvement.
I see.
I said, we have long rested on our laurels, so to speak. Perhaps he thinks it was time for a shake-up.
So does that mean then the placings in the Norling are open?
And he says, as of right now, there is no ordning. The giant lords are working in an attempt, I believe, to rebuild it, to prove themselves to be the top. And he says, each one of them in their own way, struggling for Anam's recognition. And he says, to be decreed the new king of all giants.
Maybe that could be you, Lob.
Imagine if we somehow made a Lob the king of all giants, and this campaign ended that way.
All right. Sorry, Zephyros. We have a new campaign now. So, Lob, what's
new
your campaign
campaign.
slogan?
Lob, what would your first decree as king be?
What?
Perfect. Write that down.
He's got my vote.
That's funny. That's exactly the speech Trump gave
It got him somewhere, didn't it?
on his inauguration.
Oh, goodness sake.
Yeah, so, Zephyros sort of says, it was me seeking answers from the All-Father about why he shattered the ordning that led me to this place. And questions about how it might be restored. He says, I believe the small folk will have a great hand in things to come. You in particular.
Why do you think that us would have an impact on the realm of giants?
And he
Historically,
says,
those two things have never really overlapped very much.
and he says, but times have changed. The small folk and the giants. Perhaps it is time that we perhaps it is time we work together.
Hard to see that happening with how much they've been attacking settlements lately.
And he says, yes, there are some amongst the giants who would be hard-pressed to cooperate with the small folk. Unless, of course, their king commands them to.
So there's this giant Ordling thing, and Valish Gaunt and Akar Kessel.
Man, the world sucks.
We really got our work cut out for us.
Hey, we're not gonna sleep lightly anytime soon, are we?
Yeah,
Says
and he
you.
says, yes, there is quite a lot of work to do, especially given the storm giants have secluded themselves. And he says, if they were capable of... I wish I knew what had happened to them.
We encountered a stone giant on the way here, didn't we?
He said the storm giants.
Oh, the storm giants, right.
Oh,
Why have the storm giants secluded themselves? Surely if their place in the... Surely if the Ordling has been shattered, then they would be scrambling to secure their place.
especially if they used to be the top.
And he says, indeed, but I have heard word from other giants of a great upheaval within the storm giant court. And he says, many months ago, King Hecaton's wife, Neri, was slain by small folk. This threw him into a great rage. He brought storms upon the coast in his fury.
I don't think that was us.
No, it wasn't us. So we just whisper on the sideline.
And he says, from what I understand, my associates told me that King Hecaton has blamed the Lord's Alliance through some evidence discovered at the scene, although I know that they would never commit such a terrible crime. He says, I know not who did it, but I do not think it was them.
You think someone's trying to blame them?
And he says, I do believe so. Somebody is trying to coerce the storm giants into raging against the small folk. Though I know not,
maybe?
though I know not to what ends. And he says, regardless of all that, King Hecaton has not been heard from quite some time. The storm giants have grown silent.
Right.
Would that be a good or a bad thing?
And he
That
says,
sounds very bad.
He says it is quite the bad thing. King Hecaton, as the top of the top, was always the one to keep the other giants in line. His word was law, and he has not spoken in a long time. I'm beginning to fear that something has happened to him.
Someone should probably find him.
We have enough quests.
Where can King
Someone.
Hecaton
I
be
need someone.
found?
And he says, the storm
I
giants...
say no.
The storm giants dwell in a citadel deep at the bottom of the ocean.
Quite inhospitable location to go.
And he says, yes, I believe the crushing pressure at those depths would kill most people that attempted to go down there. And he says, but I do know that the giant lords had some way to convey themselves there.
Storm giants can breathe underwater?
And he says, yes, they can.
Oh, shit. The more you know.
How would a small
Sure.
folk like us be able to make it there?
And,
He just said that
most
you'd be
likely.
crushed under the pressure.
and
I
he
don't think
says,
we should go there.
I said, unless you
Everything's possible.
And he says, I've seen gnomes in faraway lands with strange apparatuses that allow them to dive beneath the surfaces of the water, but absent such a vessel. And he says, you will have to find a way to convey yourself there, much like the lords do.
Well,
Teleportation.
Luckily, we have a powerful magician with us. And I-
A magician with us.
Exactly.
Oh, God.
She's broken again.
And he says, perhaps, whatever answers you seek, they lie within that temple I saw in my visions. There was something about it that seemed important, familiar. I can definitely tell you it was built by giant hands long, long ago.
One that you recognized?
And he says, I do not recognize the temple, but I recognize the architecture. It is similar to the ancient ruins found across this place, of a long-lost kingdom of giants.
6 Archstone.
Which
well,
giants?
And he says, long ago, before humans even existed, the giants lived in these lands. They forged an empire. Together, all of the giants lived there. Their place in the ordning was set in stone, and they cooperated with one another rather than fighting. But there was a terrible war with the dragons, and both empires were weakened and crumbled away.
So let me get this shit straight. All the giants were under one banner.
And he nods and says, yes, we all worked under the Allfather and his children. And he says, and the greatest among us at that time, well, they have long since disappeared from the world. Before, there was one group, even higher than the Storm Giants.
who were they?
And he says, the Titans.
Dun dun dun.
Titans.
And he says,
And
indeed,
what happened to them?
otherwise known as the Empyreans. And he says, I do not know. History is vague, but I know they were exiled from the material plane, and now they dwell with Onum in his realm.
Wait,
I
Onum,
see.
like the king of the giants?
And he says, Onum is king of the giants, our creator, and our god.
So he's not here on like the material plane here.
He says, of course not. He abandoned Toril a long, long time ago, when his work was done, and he had forged his mighty empire.
I see, okay. So, this temple then looks like the architecture of this ancient giant empire. Do you know where it could be? Look, like, did you notice anything around it, or?
He sort of like shakes his head and says, the vision was blurry. I saw only the entrance.
Could I do, like, a history check, Brad, to see if, like, any archaeologists or any people have, like, reported anything like this?
What's your history bonus?
+8.
No, you wouldn't possibly succeed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
That is like a niche of a niche of a niche.
Fucking 4.
Yeah, so Zephyros sort of says, I've spoken much about myself and my kin. Perhaps, might you share some of yourselves, your own story? I would love to hear it.
Let's hear Sir Almir's long, extensive backstory, Mike.
I don't know, it's time. We haven't had the chance to.
Why don't you regale us about the times with the in the Icewind Dale and Ice Witch?
Oh yeah, the Ice Witch.
We all
Long
met.
ago. Oh, no. Take it away.
No, go on. No, you go on, Lucas.
You remember much better than I do, Alexei.
I guess. How long ago was it, Brad? 9 years ago?
9
Yes.
years.
We all met that, well, me, Lucas, and Alquil met 9 long years ago in the Icewind Dales. And I guess you'll regale her with.
What?
Did you say you regret it every day?
Yes.
Anyway, I suppose Alexei will regale him the whole story of the 10 towns. I won't say it myself. I think we'll be here too long.
Yes, you tell him
Yes.
the story, basically.
Yep, and I think it's safe to say Alexei definitely makes herself out to be the hero here, doing a lot of like the saving of people and stuff, leaving out all those times that she ran away, and got lost, and got downed, and missed her spells.
Most of the time, basically.
Yes, missing out all those bits.
Yeah, so you tell him that story, and at this point, like, a lot of time has gone by, basically, as you've kind of, like, talked to him, like, relayed the story. and it's getting sort of like later in the day, and he says, and he says, I am sure that you would all like to be getting some rest now, and he says, I will retire to my chambers. In the meantime, however, if you would like, I could show you my library. And he kind of like
Yes.
turns to you, and he says, right, I assume you have some way of conveying yourself up great heights.
I have the fly spell. Yes.
And he says,
I do.
You have spell slots though.
Yes.
And he says, good. And then yeah, he sort of steps into the center of the room, and you can see at the ceiling, like maybe about like 70 feet up, there is a large, like 20-foot wide hole in the ceiling. And as he steps under it, he begins to sort of like levitate up. This like billowy cloud-like material building at his feet and like lifting him up towards the hole in the ceiling.
Wow. I need to figure out how to do a cloud thing like that. And I'll fly up with him.
Yep. So you
You
fly
gonna
up
take anyone
there.
with you? Or you? No, you're just doing it as normal. Never mind.
Yeah, so he levitates up there. You fly after him. And you can see it takes you up to the second floor of this tower, which is about like 80 foot tall. It seems to be like a combination of like a bedroom and a library. There's like a big giant sized bed. There's these tall, like slender stained glass windows. And like on all the walls there are a number of shelves, each of which is absolutely like filled with various tomes and journals and the likes. There's probably like a few hundred different like books sort of spread out along these shelves, and they're all like giant sized books, like they're as big as you are. And he sort of like lets you step off onto this landing. He steps off on the landing himself, and goes over to a chest and like opens it up, pulling out this sort of gilded silver book with like these gilded silver covers on it, with these arcane runes up on it. And he says, "You may take your leisure browsing my books." He says, "Let me know if you need a hand with any of them. I know they are quite formidable in size."
Oh, I will. Thank you. Alright, Brad. What's the books like? What spells has he got?
So looking around in the library, most of the books that you see, like, they appear to be, none of them have like titles. They're actually kind of like dated. They have like a date basically on them, like, you know, this month, this year, or whatever. And they appear to be like research journals, just full of information, about basically like creatures, geography, all about like one area, which he had mentioned, the Moonshay Isles. Each of these books is filled with substantial information, weighs quite a lot. It's probably like pretty like valuable, in terms of like actual value, but none of it's like inherently magical or anything like that. But he does have his spell book, which has a number of spells within it. Let me see here. So he
All of them.
No. So he has. Let me see. Well, these ones for sure. These are the ones that I have direct access to, and I'll have to compile the other ones because it's based on what he has. So that's what that's there. And then he also has a bunch other ones. But I need to separate out the ones he can do innately and the ones he cannot.
Does he have Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Cool.
Right, time to open up ye old PDF.
Featherfall is innate.
P.
Magic. Fog Cloud is innate. That's not. That is innate. Is it it? No, it's not. So that's. It's an innate spell. Protection.
A spell called Slow. Let's see what that does.
I'm gonna bet you it just slows down
it's-
an enemy.
It's haste, but opposite.
You
That
lose
sounds
like a
like-
bonus action. You can only take like one attack action, like one attack in your action and stuff like that.
That sounds like pretty good fucking debuff right there.
Yeah, it is.
It's an AoE.
You don't get
too.
reaction either.
It's an AoE, so you can actually hit more than one.
That sounds like fucking good debuff right there.
It is.
Why does he not have Mordenkainen's like hut or faithful hound? That's what I want to know.
What?
Mordenkainen spells.
Why do you want Mordenkainen
Because
spells?
he's not Mordenkainen.
Where's Mordenkainen? I want the spells. Where's Griswold? Wait, no, it's Varus, isn't it? Who's the one?
Why do you
Mordenkainen.
want Grizzy?
I want Mordenkainen spells.
Why?
Because they're cool.
Grizzy doesn't have any. It's Varus.
Yeah, I was saying, it's Varus is with Mordenkainen, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you find Mordenkainen so I can get his spells. Where the fuck is Slow? SL. Here it is. You alter time around up to 6 creatures of your choice in a 40-foot cube within range. Wisdom saving throw. It'll last up to 1 minute. Takes a -2 to AC and Dex saving throws. Can't use reactions.
Yeah, so while Alexei is looking over that, the rest of you guys go ahead and kind of like take your rest, begin sort of like your short rest here. Yeah, I mean, we can just go ahead and, like, nothing accosts you during the night. You are safe here in Zephyros' tower, and then the morning sort of comes. And yeah, so Alexei, obviously you know that inscribing copying spells over to your spellbook is like a pretty timely affair. Like, it takes an hour per like level of the spell.
Yeah.
So if there's any spells you'd like, he could probably make some scrolls for you in the night. But he could probably only make maybe like 3 or 4 at most, depending on like the levels. Like, if you want higher level spells, he's probably only going to be able to make 1. But if you want some lower level spells, he could probably whip out like a couple. But
Yeah,
you're
so
definitely
that's-
not going to be able to get everything, and he's not going to give you his spellbook. So
Well, yeah, so that's what I'm looking at here. Well, I mean, Slow looks pretty good. But then there's also greater invisibility. And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, I rolled so shit on that. Fuck, you know.
I don't even have the represent
But
spell level to get
Don't we
teleport.
get more on a short rest? Don't we get half of our hit dice back on our
No,
short
that's
rest?
a long
No,
rest.
that's a long rest.
Great. This is great. Can we go back to civilization now?
No.
Oh, Christ.
Cone
being a
of...
fighter is pretty nice right now.
Being a warlock's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Being
How are your spell slots looking there, casters? Dicks.
Full actually.
No, not you. The other casters. The full
Hey.
casters.
I still have quite a few spell slots, luckily enough.
Yeah. I have only used 3rd level spells.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
feed the
it's
fucking
almost-
douchebag who's been leading us wrong.
It's almost like it's a system designed to, like, make it so you guys don't like randomly fight everything you come across.
Brad,
My ass.
can I use my my disciple, the channel divinity for healing before the night and use the hit points and hit dice I spent in the morning?
I don't see why not. I don't think.
Okay, Just asking, so because I already rolled the hit die. That's why I was asking.
42.
So it doesn't, because if I use it before the hit die, I will get more out of it. That's why I'm asking.
Hmm.
I just completely forgot about my channel divinity for a second.
Yeah, your channel divinity. You can only
yeah.
heal up to like half health with that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Mm,
Yeah, you can totally do that.
okay. Nice. Thank you. Heal and target 5 times cleric level.
Well, sure, yeah, if you could. I don't have the spell slot for it yet, but I suppose when I do get 5th level spells, if you could transcribe telekinesis for me.
Yeah, he could definitely do that. It'd probably be the only one that he could do, given its level. But yeah, he can.
Yep.
He can do
And
that.
then, would I be able to copy slow myself?
You'd have to stay up during the night, and you wouldn't get the benefits of the rest because you're not resting the whole 8 hours or whatever. But I
Works
mean,
for me.
you also really haven't lost any health, and you don't gain much back on a short rest. So
Works for me. Slow it is.
sure, just make sure you detract basically the equivalent amount of gold or whatever to cover the
Yes.
cost of the component.
Do you actually
much
have
is
the
that
gold
again?
for it?
It's 50.
So it's it would be like
Uh,
150 normally, but because I think that's a transmutation spell, isn't it? It's haste
Slow.
is. It is. So it's half price. So it would be 75.
75.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yep, so it's 10 gold per platinum, right?
Training
Yeah.
full as an elder dragon.
Right, okay, so 1, and then down to 78. So I have slow now. Woo-hoo!
Nice.
Well, I suppose since I'm staying up anyway, let's see what else we got here. Modify memory. What is that? I've not heard of that one before.
You modify someone's memory. You make him think that something happened while something else really happened.
Modify memory. Yep. Oh my god, it's a 5th level enchantment. Okay.
Yeah.
That obviously you can't do like crazy things with it.
Already have detect magic. Gust
Do
of
you?
wind. Crown of madness. Crown of madness? That sounds mean. What does it do?
It's like a save every round, and then if they fail, they have to attack like their companions or something like that.
After it's broken compared to the head.
It's an enchantment spell.
Autolux Resilience Sphere. I think I remember that one being quite high level.
I think that one's 4th level.
Mirror Image looks pretty good. 2nd level illusion spell. So that'd be 100 gold. I actually don't have enough for that one. No!
If only we had like a bank among us.
Who's the bank?
2 actually, but sure.
The
Wait, we have another bank?
The bank, quote unquote.
Who's the other bank other than me?
I have a bag of holding full as well.
Oh,
What? His head is actually.
so does Alexei come for money?
Can I have some money for spells?
I suppose. How much do you need?
For mirror image, I would need like an extra, I think about 20 gold ish.
What is it? I have.
See a bird.
What is it? It's 10 gold or platinum, right?
It's not even accurate.
10 gold into 1 platinum, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So 10
Yes.
platinum is 100 gold. I have 2,039 gold.
What the fuck? You don't. We do.
The bank does.
The bank, he calls it.
That's what I call my bag of holding, the bank.
Can I have some coins for magic?
Figure out how much you need, unless you're only getting that one.
Yeah,
Alright,
I mean,
okay.
The way I can just.
it's not just
like-
it's not just a limit of gold, right? Because it takes like a ton of time. So
Yeah.
you're probably only gonna get like maybe to If you're doing slow, I mean, that's transmutation, so it's like half time, half cost. So that's like an hour and a half right there. Mirror image would be 2 hours. So you're
You got
like,
8
pushing.
hours.
You're pushing like well into the night, and like you still need to. Still need to sleep. Like
Sleep. I can sleep whenever I want. I might never get this chance again.
it's all right. You're gonna be making a Constitution check.
I'm willing to do that, Brad. This ain't no pussy shit here. Okay, let's see. Hypnotic pattern. That's another illusion spell. Oh god, I want hypnotic pattern as well. Alright, that's a 3rd level, so that's an extra 150. So if you say I can only get, like, what was it? 3, that'd be my last 2, so... I need 250 gold.
Yeah, because that would be like 6.5 hours of work right there. So you're basically like you're out of time at that point.
250 gold? Fine.
Mhm. So at some point, like before you go to bed, Alexei just comes for you. He's like, "Can I have 250 gold from spells?"
Like, what, you just
Okay.
need gold for spells. How does what? Just talk to your dragon and get more. That's what I do.
just get a loan. Get a loan from your family.
I don't like
Isn't
to
Alan
rely.
here like your servant? Go steal his gold.
Well, you know, my father doesn't like to think that we have to rely on his money. He wants us to like earn it for ourselves.
So you come and take mine?
I'm asking nicely.
Fine.
Thanks,
Oh.
Lucas.
250 gold. I'll cover the eye so it doesn't see.
Yeah. I hug you. All right. Hypnotic pattern. Now I can charm people. I just realized as well,
Yeah,
since
like that.
I just realized since I took a long rest, I don't actually have the capabilities to prepare these new fucking dope ass spells.
Nope.
If only we could find civilization. What the fuck are we going to do? Are we just going to go to that tower with that hill giant?
Yeah.
That's like the only thing we can do.
I mean, you can do anything.
Since we can't really trust Lob to lead us the right way.
We can go ahead and try to find artists again. You know, the main quests?
So you mean... So you mean going back?
I mean, I don't know. What the fuck are we doing up here?
Well, what are we doing here? We are trying to figure out a way to stop the encroaching attacks on us, small folk, from giants. We are trying to find the... God damn it, what's it called?
Grudhug.
Yeah,
So the 5 of us are going to assault Grudhug on our own?
not assault, find.
We have Lob with us.
Hmm.
The man that we're all increasingly sure does not know where we're going.
I'm sure he has an idea. You have an idea where Groot Hall is, right, Lob?
Yeah, he sort of like nods and says, "Yes, Lob, no, way home."
See,
I look at Zephyros. Like, do you think he's telling the truth? Or he's telling the truth, but do you think he's right?
I said, "I think he believes that he knows where his home is."
Lob, which way did we come from? Just pointing it.
He just sort of like thinks for a moment, and he's just like, "We came that way," and he like points off to the east.
The way we did not come.
We do definitely not.
All right, we are not bringing Lob with us any further.
Well, Zephyros, we're leaving Lob with you.
This is what? No, Lob wants food.
Lob, you'll have to do what you have done before and get food for yourself.
But
Why'd you
that,
tell them that?
but that hard. That's easy.
Yeah, we We can't keep feeding you like this. We don't have the resources to do so.
You're a grown hill giant, Lob. You have to learn to take care of yourself.
There's a river outside. You could probably go
You're
get
not,
some fish.
you're not 2 years old anymore.
You're 3 years old.
Yeah,
What are
Time
we
to-
doing?
act like a man.
And he's just like, Lob, no understand. Want food. You give food. Why Lob not go with you?
Because,
We could theoretically just keep him around and have him fight our battles for us, guys.
well,
he eats trees.
yeah, it's a waste of resource. We can't keep spending slots on him.
Well, if he starts fighting with us as well, I mean, then we earn something on spending spell slots on him. I'm just saying.
Plus, we got that pearl of power to feed. Like, it's basically free to feed him as long as like he has that
Yeah.
pearl of power.
But we need him to get to Groot Hold.
Do we though? Do we really?
Yes.
No, he doesn't
Yeah.
know where it is.
Mirror
Yeah, he
Maker just
does.
needs something to drink.
Did you not just see him point to the east when I asked him which way we came from?
Well, yeah, but like, who really knows where they came from? You know where
Any
you're
of,
going.
any of us.
Well, at least any of you with a decent like survival score.
Fair enough, yeah. I know we came over the river, at least, and that's the direction I would point.
We need him to get to Groot Hold.
No, we don't.
Well, where's Groot Hold then?
We don't know, and neither does he.
I'm pretty sure he at least knows the general direction, which is more than we have going for us.
Fucking overlay mod.
What makes you believe that he does?
I mean,
You didn't even
we've gotten this far.
make a demon.
And look where that's got us.
We
Yeah.
could have gotten this far.
And she gestures to Zephyros, and it's like, well, I don't know about that.
Do you have a way to feed him, Alexei?
Nope.
Do you have any solution to feeding him?
Well, wasn't the solution the pearl of power that we have?
Don't
They
you eat
could-
trees, Lob?
The free spell slot to like feed him with?
Alright, yeah.
And he says, trees no good. Spiky, hurt Lob throat. Only eat if need.
Lob, if we were to encounter other giants that were trying to harm us, would you help us fight them?
Well, small ones give Lob food, so. It says, but fighting, tough work, make Lob hungry. Fight, but more food, or not enough energy.
Would you eat the giants?
I was just thinking that. We're like, nah, that's dumb. That's how I knew it was dumb. It's James ass.
I mean, thus far, we've each giant has had some tribespeople with them. I'm sure tribespeople are very tasty, aren't they, Lob?
And he says, small folk very tasty, but Lob no eat you, 'cause you give Lob food.
Yes. But if we were to offer you other small folk as food, would you them?
Them small folk. And I'm just gonna pipe up and think that Alquil's saying the same.
Yeah, like I feel like Alco would definitely be like, no.
Alquil
about-
is sleeping. He doesn't know this.
What about eating the other giants that we fight?
That's cannibalism.
Don't want him to do that either.
Oh. All right, you can keep coming with us, Lob, but you have to help us if we get in trouble. And we'll keep feeding you every day.
Lob, would you fight a fire giant?
And he sort of says, idiot and scary, but if Lob get lots of food, Lob do anything.
So easily reinforced by food. I love it.
So you're just gonna live
He's like having a dog feed him and he's happy.
said, if Lob eat enough, become bigger and stronger than Ilyotin.
Is there any basis to that?
Yeah, I look at Zephyros and it's like, is that true? Can that
And he
happen?
says, well, the hill giant society is based around whoever eats the most and becomes the biggest. They are, by definition, the strongest, according to the hill giant society, because they were able to procure the most food for themselves.
Wait, their civilization built on the idea of obesity?
And he says, yeah, well, yes, you could boil it down like that, I suppose.
Hold up.
No,
What if we
basically-
feed
ba-
Lob and make him huge, and then take him to like the hill giant place and make him become king of the hill giants?
I'm so on board with this right now.
And then
This
we
is a-
just like have the entire hill giant core with us.
And Zephyros is like, you do realize how much food it would take to make a hill giant obese.
How many spell slots do you got?
No.
I think that's a dream we'll have to let go of. You'll have to keep being a dream.
We're gonna
He says,
no, we're not gonna let go. We're gonna put a pin in it. We're gonna put a pin in it.
He says, but it is a decent enough thought. Perhaps the ordering that they use to define their own societies can be manipulated. And he says, every type of giant has their own hierarchy within their own order. And he says, based on various different things that are important to them. Though I have long
are they in each
divorced,
society?
and he says, I have long divorced myself from such things, more in pursuit of arcane matters. But and he says, well, the stone giants, and he says they prided themselves on their artistic merit, and he says their craftsmanship with stone. Whosoever carves the best carvings, he is their king. And he says, the frost giants pride themselves on strength, pure and simple. Whoever is the strongest, well, they're the strongest. Very simple, them. The fire giants, they value craftsmanship as well, although of the metalworking kind. Whosoever is the greatest smith amongst them is their leader. And he says, my kin, the cloud giants, pride themselves on frivolity, if you ask me, wealth and resplendence, though not just hoarded, openly shown. Whosoever is the most outwardly wealthy is the most influential. And he says, and the storm giants, well, I never quite understood their own hierarchy. There is something to it, but I do not know what.
Do you have any idea what it could be? Like, do they say what it is they value?
And he sort of shakes his head and says, no, they do not, being at the top of the pecking order, as it were, they do not really concern themselves with, well, speaking much to the lower giants. And he says, they keep to themselves and their strange ways. He says, from what I can understand, it is not so much a material thing.
Right. Okay. Suppose that makes sense. Oh, before we go, actually, Surfos, there's one other thing. You said that, in light of the Ordling having been destroyed, the giant chiefs are all vying for control. What chiefs are they that are leading their relative factions?
And he says, you must understand I am not from around here. And he says, I do not know much about who leads each giant clan. I did not get involved in politics myself. And he says, I only know that currently in this area the cloud giants are ruled over by the vile Countess Sansuri. And he says, I remember her from my younger days. That evil witch. She twists the arcane arts in a vile and despicable manner. Ta!
Being led by, what was the name?
And he says, Countess Sansuri, an old and bitter rival.
I see.
Politics. I would be very interested to attend a hill giant political meeting.
Was that Countess sound familiar? Was that the name of one of the people in the R? like place that we were just in, like the Cloud Giant Castle?
No, but you've heard Cloud Giants mention her like multiple
Yeah, I
times.
was about to say the name sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
It was those giants at the ruins who were trying to find the thing. It was them who mentioned her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the second day, right? Like we woke up.
Yeah, we've woken up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah.
have woken up. I've been up all night.
Yeah. Can I ask Mrs. Zephyros to make food for the hill giant? Can you do that?
And he says, unfortunately, my own talents don't lie in that regard. And he says, I cannot call upon the favor of the gods to provide sustenance.
Okay. Just wanted to save some of my power for later, but fair enough. I will do it then. And I-
Yeah.
You
Craft
do have
some
the
food for a little
Pearl of Power, so
Yeah, I know, but I could have replenished my spell slots one
Mhm.
more for later.
Ah.
That's why I wanted to do it. But then I do it myself.
So Alexa will say it's like we've heard the name Countess Sensuria a few times. What can you tell us about her? Other than the fact that she's apparently a witch.
And she says, she is almost as old as I am. We actually, our families were acquainted long, long ago. Says, she and I are somewhat different than the other cloud giants. Our interests were never so much in material wealth as they were in knowledge and the acquisition of such. Says, but she has twisted it to dark ends. She uses its power to lord over the other giants and acquire more typical wealth in order to increase her station. She is evil, depraved. Nothing is beneath her. Says she uses every trick in the book to get what she wants.
so she's a politician.
Yeah. I see.
And he says, if you should ever meet her, be wary. She is not like to attack you outright, but she will try to manipulate you and use you to her own ends.
Right, I see.
And
Well,
she too was a cloud giant?
Yes.
Shitter splatter.
Right, okay,
Fair
I
enough.
see.
Shitter.
Troubling.
Well, is the day's lob situation taken care of?
I don't know, is it?
I'm looking at Eric. Nothing
Is he still
said.
alive? Then no.
Yeah, I've fed him.
Alright, yeah. So you give him some food.
Lob has been
Right.
lobbed.
So is there anyone who needs to do anything else before we?
Negatory.
Okay. Tell us again about the hill giant you saw in this tower. What could you discern?
He says, I saw them only in passing, but they were sitting atop the ruins of an old tower to the north. And he says, they seem to be, how can I put this? I was quite high up, so I couldn't see much, but there was something about their demeanor that seemed defeated, in a way.
We have encountered some giants under some sort of control, where their minds were dulled. They were just walking in a trance, pretty much. Might be the same situation here.
And he says, oh, did you? What manner of giants were these?
I believe they were. Yes.
And he says, stone giants, And he says, you speak of the dream walkers, then.
The Dreamwalker?
And he sort of nods and says, I am not a stone giant myself, so I do not entirely understand, but they are a subterranean people. For them, everything above the surface is as a dream. It is not a real place. And he says, what do they do there? Their actions have no real lasting consequences. For the surface eventually returns to its natural state over the centuries. He says, those who spend too long within the dream oftentimes lose themselves to it and become dreamwalkers.
That seems very strange.
So they just believe that the. That is really strange.
He says,
And he's-
perhaps you might think it such, but amongst the giants they are the wisest. And he says, perhaps they do know some truth.
and you say the hill giants and stone giants are enemies.
And he says, the stone giants are enemies with nobody. They keep to themselves in their subterranean dwellings.
How would it be possible? Maybe we need to speak to some stone giants underground then. Would it be willing to listen to us?
Yes, this Dreamwalker had some kind of hypnotic effect on Sirak and Alexa here.
But considering them, I looked at him when he got close. Me and Alexia, we kind of lost our mind and thought everything was a cheerful, happy dream of sorts.
It was a good dream.
No, it wasn't. It was bears trying to kill us.
Well, that was the real life. The dream was nice.
Okay.
Anyway.
Is that a normal thing that happens with these Dreamwalkers?
And
Zephyros?
he sort of like shrugs and he says, I have not met many dreamwalkers or heard much about them. They are rare amongst the stone giants. For though it is valorous to spend so long within the dream realm for them, most stone giants prefer to maintain their wits.
But I also have one other question. You were being interrogated for looking for something in the ruins. Do you know what they were looking for?
And he says, they were trying to get information about all the nearby settlements and ruins here in this vale. And they believed, for some reason, I had some sort of access to that knowledge. He says, perhaps because they saw my castle in the sky. They just believed that I could see everything that was going on, though I was not much paying mind to such things. He says, I know not why they are doing what they are doing, although when they were here they seemed to be disassembling buildings and reconstructing new ones.
Yeah, they seemed like they were looking for something very specific, but I couldn't figure it out myself either.
Yeah, we encountered them at a ruin not so far away from here, where they were pretty much deconstructing it. They were breaking it down.
And he says, the stone giants that were with that small folk, they mentioned something I thought passing strange. And he says, normally stone giants don't have much mind for the surface world, but these ones were speaking about the dream being corrupted and restoring it to its natural state.
Why do stone giants care to do that when you said that they would just believe that it would return to its natural state anyway?
And he says, I do not know.
Has anything like this happened before?
And he sort of like shakes his head. Never before has our society been upheaved in such a way.
I see. Well, I guess
Perhaps,
we'll have...
perhaps they believe that restoring the dream to its natural state, as it were, will impress the Allfather and their own forebear, and elevate their position. In a way, it is like sculpting on a major scale. For what better sculpture than to resculpt the very land?
Oh, right, okay, well. Alright, maybe we should get going.
Yes. Well, I suppose you have magical ways of contacting us should something happen.
Good old sending spell.
And he says, of course I could get in contact with you, but now that my mission has been completed, the vision's fulfilled, I believe I am going to return to my home. continue my research.
Well, maybe if we ever have to speak to Countess Sensuri, we'll come find you.
He says, I would prefer not to deal with that damnable wretch ever again.
Understandable. Well, I for one hope to see you again, and thank you.
for your hospitality.
Thank you for your
Thank you very
assistance,
much.
Zephyros.
And he sort of like smiles and says, of course. And he says, I have a fondness for the small folk. I see much great potential in you that my kin do not. And he says, I do what I can to help you. And he says, and know that not all amongst the giants are as vile and wicked as their leaders make them seem to be. He says, perhaps there are allies that can be found amongst them.
Looks at Lob.
We found. What's the name of the one that came in the flying castle again?
Howl?
That's a moving castle.
Sorry.
I honestly can't remember.
Because there was one that came over that was scouting to try to figure out all the lands and find all the old lands, the old terrains, and look for old giant landmarks. He came over the city of what are we in?
Waterdeep.
Waterdeep.
I can't remember. I didn't speak to him. It was Alquill that did it. If Alquill
Yes.
remembers the name, and we just pan to Alquill, it's like,
He's a zombie! Kill him!
I think we'll have to speak to him when he's a bit more with it. I think he's quite tired. Maybe it's best we rest up for the evening.